Hi, this is Beatriz. Welcome back to my channel. You're watching Elegant and Feisty. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for dropping by. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for your support. Today's video is about budgeting. It's come to my, I suppose, attention recently, or realization that not everyone is taught about budgeting as they're growing up. It's not necessarily something that we're taught at school. I think I was very lucky that my father was very good at this, and he taught us from a very young age just about the very basics of budgeting. You know, money coming in, money going out, all your income and your expenses. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of things, and these things are, I guess, quite relevant perhaps to single mums, single dads. And the reason why I'm saying this is because these are things that I had to consider when I separated quite a number of years ago now, but they're things that I had to, like I said, I had to consider, take into account, and then act on. So the very first thing, so if you find yourself in a situation where you really need to take control of your finances, the very first thing that you need to do is sit down and make a list of all of your expenses. Now, if you can't think of everything, just grab your bank statement and write a list, have a look at everything that's coming out of your accounts, and you'll be surprised to see things like subscriptions, for example. They're so easy to miss, and they're things that just come out, you know, they're relentless. They're just constantly coming out of our accounts every single month. And, you know, sometimes we have to make decisions that involve, you know, making sacrifices, and they don't have to be sacrifices forever. They're like short-term sacrifices for, I guess, long-term gains. So some examples might be things like subscriptions to Spotify, for example. Make sure that if you are subscribing to Spotify, that you have a family subscription versus, you know, all the kids having separate subscriptions, or even considering cutting out Spotify, or cutting out all those little, they are little luxuries, but there are times when we have to do that in order to get back on top of things. Things like even the internet. For me, for example, when we first separated, I had no internet. I had no internet for a full 2 years, and my kids wanted to kill me. But it's something that I had to do because it was a really big expense. It's, you know, around $70 at least. Well, here it was around $70 a month, and I was already paying that amount in my office. Now, for me, in my situation, my office was only a couple of blocks away from where we were living. So every afternoon, the kids would go straight from school to the office, and they would download anything that they needed for the homework, or they would actually sit there and do their homework for a couple of hours. So if they didn't finish and they needed anything from the internet, they would download everything, and then we would go home, and then they could finish whatever they had to finish. But during that time, we basically relied on my phone. I also decided to, once my contract was over with my phone, I decided not to get a new phone. So prior to that, every 2 years I would get a new phone, and that meant being locked into a contract for 2 years and having to pay at least $100 a month for the phone and the internet and data. And then what I did was I just purchased a phone outright for about $300. I got myself a little Oppo, which not many people have heard of, but it works just fine, and it does everything that other phones do. And then what I did was just I went on a month by month, payment, and I would pay $30 a month for more than enough data. I never go through all my data or all my calls or anything like that, or call allowance. And they're just a couple of little examples, but there's also a lot of things that you can do that don't require spending. So for example, you can go to your local library and borrow books instead of buying new books. Even magazines as well. You can get magazines from some libraries. You can also get movies from the library. So there are other avenues if you're thinking of cutting back costs, especially in those beginning, just in the beginning, those first few months can be really quite difficult adjusting to all the changes. Outings as well. I was always very open with my children, so if there were times when I couldn't quite afford to do the things that they wanted to do or get them the things that they wanted, I would explain to them, I can't afford it right now, but as soon as I can, we will do these things, and I will get you, the skateboard or the shoes, or whatever the case may have been. And I always did. I always follow through. And I know that some parents prefer not to say anything to their children, but I actually think that it's a really good life lesson, because life is not always rosy. Things are up and down, and we do need to manage our finances and learn to accept reality. So I have always believed that it's good for me to tell them where I'm at, and they understand. Of course, now they're growing up and they are beginning to understand their own finances and the responsibilities that come with being adults. So what I would like to do over the next couple of videos is give you some more tips and maybe just some practical ideas on how you can prepare your budgets going forward, week by week, month by month, so that you can reach those goals, or get yourself out of debt, whatever those things, those challenges might be. So the very first step is grab a pen, grab some paper, get a calculator, sit down with your bank statements or log in to your bank and write down that list. Go through like the last 6 months if you can, every single subscription, every single bill, and really look at where your money is going, and then really think about, what do you really need? Do you really need all of those things? What can you cut back on? What can you live without? That is the very first step. And I will continue next week with some more tips, and I do hope that you have found this video useful. I know that it's not for everyone, but I also know that it might help a lot of people. If you do know of anyone that might benefit from this video, then please share it. Please give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, leave me some comments. It really will help my YouTube channel. And that's it. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye.